Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for watching. And in this video we're going to talk all about Death Guard sorcerers and what I've done to kitbash the Terminator sorcerer that should come into focus here, although we will see the other sorcerer models that we're doing. Now this conversion doesn't look like I've done a great deal from the original glottkin model. There's quite a lot of work in this, and I think sometimes the simple conversions are the best, and I think the fact it doesn't look to me like a massive conversion is a good thing, so stick around and I'll show you what I've done. So the basis of the model is going to come off the glottkin model you've seen here, which I used in my Nurgle Knight army with a kitbash into Knight. The two characters that come on there are some of the best Nurgle characters around, I think, one of which I'm just going to build exactly as normal and just paint it up into Death Guard colours. The other is where the basis of this conversion is going to come from. And the third sorcerer you'll see in the background is the Japanese special release for the models there. That is a little bit of a recast though, so I'm not going to focus too much on that because that's a bit of a grey area about why we've gone into that. Now step one is swapping the legs on this model. The model, you could just paint it straight up as is, but it comes with the Age of Sigmar style sort of knight legs. I want to remove those, take a blob of milliput, stuff it into that torso there, drop on the kind of chainmail front panel into there and use the milliput to hold it in place, and then I'm dropping the legs in. Now these are legs from, I think, a Death Shroud Terminator. You get some spares in there because you've got some alternate builds, so we're doing that and taking the end of the sculpting tool, just a little bit of water on it there, and I'm making that milliput that's now blobbing out around the legs look like kind of diseased and bruised flesh, so it kind of blends in with a lot of that bare flesh you're seeing on this model. Now it's about equipping this Terminator sorcerer stroke lord. Again, this is a spare scythe from a Death Shroud Terminator, and very, very fitting. Technically it should be an axe or a sword for the sorcerer, but I think a scythe is just more Death Guardy. So the first stage is cutting it down. As you saw there, the hand is way at the bottom of the scythe because it was meant to be like a two-handed version. So all I'm doing now is slicing this into like 3 pieces, basically to get the hand from the bottom of the scythe and move it to the top where we want it to be held. Once you've sliced those pieces up, it's now about drilling through the hand, drilling into the top of the scythe and drilling into the base. So just very, very thin pin drill to just put those access holes into that, and then we're going to rebuild the scythe using some pinning wire and again some of that milliput that was still on the table there. So fairly long-winded, I suppose, to put that hand in the right position. Definitely worth though putting some pinning material through the middle of this, because you could just glue it back together because it is plastic. Just I think this makes it a little bit more solid. So if you can see here what it looks like when it is reassembled, the end cap at the very bottom has been put back on where the hand was, so it's just that multi-part scythe. Now while that milliput's drying, I've just left it blobbing out and we'll slice it down later. Now at this part I did want to put a different head on to make it more obviously 40k, but I experimented with a few different heads out of the bits box and decided in the end that actually the head that comes in this glottkin model is so cool and nurgly mutated, I'm just going to go with that. Now while the milliput in the legs is still drying, taking some little balls of green stuff and milliput that excess I've had previously, I've made, just rolled in my hand some tiny balls, sticking them in to make those kind of Nurgle pustule bubo type things. Now overnight the milliput has now dried and it's now slicing that off and sculpting around the hand and the shaft of the side area just to neaten it up and make it look like it's fitting. Bit of plastic glue to get it stuck on, and you can see there the head that I've left, I didn't show you sticking it on earlier, as the original one. So that's most of the weaponry on there. You can see the boils and buboes in the back, how we've melded it together into the body. Great body for conversion this because there's a lot of exposed flesh. Now these are storm bolters taken from a Horus Heresy set, again of Terminators that I did. Big advantage of keeping hold of every single spare part you ever generate is that at some point you might want to use them. Again, drilling out the gun barrels on that storm bolter just for a little bit of added effect, and then get this stuck onto the body. And essentially now we've just replaced the 2 sets of weapons that this model had. It did already come with a scythe, as you saw, but it's a very, Sigmar-y scythe, and it just came with a holding an icon, which you could have absolutely kept, but I think equipping it as close to the model as possible is good. And the advantage of the equipment I've used is that I can then use this either as a sorcerer or as a lord, but for me it will be a sorcerer. Now I'm just taking a single shoulder pad that's a spare off a Blight Lord Terminator and cutting it down. I'm just going to put this on one shoulder, really just to add a little bit of the sort of more 40k armour in there, and that's just being stuck onto his right shoulder. You could go more, but I think it's just enough to give some 40k details to the model. Then gluing him onto his base. I'm not going to go through the full basing routine that I've done, but it's a green stuff wool roller to do the cobblestones I've seen there, and we'll touch on what I do for the rest of it later. Now I'm running around the model and just filling any gaps. There are a couple of patches where I've put the hand on there that the arm panel doesn't just quite meet, and a little bit around the legs just to neaten up. So taking some freshly mixed milliput, sticking that in, filling some gaps and cracks around there, and we really are on finishing stages. So again, I won't cover the base fully, but it is just the milliput roller, as I've already said. A bit of sand onto the base is where we're going to blend that into what's going to be like a Nurgle pool later. Slice in a couple of those balls I've talked about before of milliput or green stuff that you've rolled with any excess, dropping them on to make it look like kind of popping bubbles in the pool of kind of Nurgle's rot we're going to do later. And that essentially, that's the conversion. Fairly simple, fairly easy, but actually requires a bit of thought on what pieces you're going to use from the model. And essentially I've just replaced the Sigmar pieces with 40k pieces to hopefully blend it in with my Death Guard. And you could go further and put more, pouches and packs on, but I felt this just looked about right. Undercoated in a metallic colour there, just going for the lead belcher metal with all three of these models. And I've talked many times on the channel why I think this is a brilliant base coat, especially for Death Guard that wear quite a lot of armour. And there you can see again the special edition Japanese model, the other glottkin that I've built, and the kitbash. Now I'm not going to go through the painting scheme, just thought I'd drop some bits on here so I could talk about that, but there's plenty of painting guides on my channel about what I do with Death Guard. What I have done on this video though, if you're interested in commenting, if you've still stuck around, is I recorded this in 4K just to see if it made any difference to the quality of the video. So if you prefer how this has looked through this, if you've even noticed any difference, drop a comment down below. If not, just carry on watching. So now it became about painting the figures. Again, I'm going to skip straight past this in a second, but painting exactly the same as anything else. I didn't really do anything extra considering their characters. Maybe put a couple of extra little highlights on there, but nothing too drastic. And here's how they finished out. This is before varnishing, just as the Nurgle's rot is drying on there. So I think a really nice model. It's going to blend in really well. I don't think immediately you can tell what's been done to this conversion. When you look at the legs, I think they've blended in really nicely, and the weaponry as well. Again, looking at that special edition playcast that you can get, fantastic model. Why Games Workshop don't release that as a general release, I have no idea, because you see fakes of this popping up all over the place. And then there's the Glottkin Sorcerer. So, hope you enjoyed that. Quick one this week. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz, and I'll see you in another video.